Hello, and welcome to episode 37 of the Stitching Over the Days podcast. My name is Constance. I want to thank any new viewers and also any returning viewers for taking a moment out of your day to hear all about my sewing, knitting, and crochet adventures. You can find me on Instagram as Cleo, that's CLEO-CMC. I'm also on Ravelry as cleocmc, that's CLEO-CMC. There's a Ravelry group, Stitching Over the Days, and there is a blog with the show notes, yarningoverthedays.wordpress.com. So you can reach me on any of those platforms and I'll get back with you. So today's show will feature my recent finished projects, and in addition to that I'll update you on my works in progress. And I think after that, because I have quite a few things to share with you, then I'll just share with you what I'm wearing today, and then we'll end the podcast. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the last episode, I was updating you on my Merry Queen of Scots, and I had a goal to finish it in the month of August, and I did achieve my goal. I finished it in early August, and this is a design by Alice Moore from her book Tudor Roses. And it's one of my favorite knitting pattern books. Let me show you the design. Uh-oh. And that's the design there. I hope it was focused. But I finished mine, and I did not go with the colorway of the sample in the book, but I went with a more autumn palette, and here it is. So beautiful. I absolutely love it. And let me share some of the details with you. So this was made with Alice Moore's Hebridean yarn. The body is made with the 3-ply, and the collar and the cuffs and that frill, or they call it the surfles and flourish at the bottom, that's made with the Alice Moore Hebridean 2-ply. Now it is one, I think it's one of the easier garments in Tudor Roses. However, I did encounter my share of problems and mistakes that I was just making. It wasn't the pattern, because I know that I think I've ripped back a total of 4 times, or is it 5? 4 or 5 times I ripped back so many portions of this garment, and I'm talking about I was ripping back when I was completing like almost a full back. I completed a full sleeve and had to rip back. And the first reason I ripped back my project, I remember because I felt that it was too big. And even though I bring my swatches, I did a swatch and I was going for negative ease, but it's still, and the swatch was a simple reverse stockinette swatch, and I was going for negative ease, but it was still coming out too large for what I would have preferred. So I remember ripping it back for that. Then I remember making mistakes with the increasing, and I was increasing on the ends, but actually the increasing was different, and that was my mistake, because I should have been reading the instructions very carefully, and I didn't do that. And so I had to rip back the back, I remember, for that also. I remember one moment when I had to rip back, I was just so gutted, and that was when I completed an entire sleeve. And so I was so happy with myself. I was thinking, oh, I'm making great progress. And then I realized I made a mistake on the knotted border section, and I was going to try to like graft it back together, but I really just couldn't figure out how to do that with that knotted border section, because it's easy to graft together something less than like stockinette stitch, but I wasn't sure how to do something that had like knots and bobbles. So I ended up ripping back the entire sleeve. And so to just make sure I didn't make any mistakes, I remember I decided, and I don't even know why I decided to do this, but I decided to work the sleeves 2 at a time after that, after I ripped back that entire sleeve. And I know that everyone has their different preferences with knitting, but I did not enjoy that process at all. So much so that when I got to the sleeve cap, I went back to working it 1 at a time, and I found that so much more enjoyable. I just prefer to work my sleeves and my socks, anything 1 at a time. And so I also had a moment where I messed up the neckline, and so I had to rip that back and correct the neckline because I started the shaping too early, and so it would have been a bit lower. I'm not sure if it would have looked horribly bad, but I decided to just go ahead and correct it, which I did. Then I was nervous about the collar being like too much, and so because I was just having all of these things that were like in my mind, I decided to go out of order a bit. So what I did was I blocked the left front, the right front, and the back, and then I assembled that, and then I did the collar, which was quite detailed and it took a while. And then I did the collar, and then I assembled the collar, and I did the button bands also. And with the button band, because it was worked after and it didn't get a full soak with the soak wash, then I simply pinned it to the mat and gave it a spray with cold water to make sure that it was neat and flat. And so I completed like the entire body first, and then I figured I'd wait to do the sleeves. And so when I did that and I was able to try the garment on, then I seamed it all together, and I seamed using the back stitch. And then when I was complete with the body and I tried it on, I was like, oh, I love it so much. And so all of those like fears that I had, they just kind of went away. So it's done, it's complete. I absolutely love it. I think that the yarn color is just amazing. And as I've stated previously, these buttons I purchased from Amazon. There were like a lot of 20, and they're a brass color, and I thought it would perfectly complement the garment because I think that that corncrake color kind of looks brassy to me. And so I'm really happy with it, and it's done. Despite the many trials and tribulations I've had with the garment, and I'm looking forward to wearing it when it gets a bit colder. Of course, I dressed it up quite a bit for like my photos for Ravelry and Instagram, but I also tried it on with my new look 6469, which is one of my more casual dresses, and I have one in this kind of like gold color, similar to the corncrake, and it looked so beautiful, and I could see myself wearing it with that dress a lot, also with some loafers and tights when it gets a bit cooler. So for now it's just hanging up until I'm ready to wear it. So that is, I think I've covered almost everything with the Mary Queen of Scots. It was an enjoyable knit, but it taught me some things in that I needed to just slow down and take my time, because it was just one of those projects where mistakes just kept happening back to back. But I was like, with every mistake, it made me like more determined than ever to complete it. And I was like, I refuse to put this down, and I'm going to complete this project. And I did, and I'm super happy with it. So it's done. And I'll have the twirl and the detail pictures of the Mary Queen of Scots at the end of the podcast. Okay, so in the previous podcast, I shared with you some yarn that was given as a gift to me from Pearl Soho in New York. And they gave me the opportunity to choose some yarn from their line, and I decided to go with a color that I've never knitted with before, and that was like this deep, which I'm wearing today, and that was like this deep plum burgundy type color. And so I chose their Pearl Soho Posy and their Pearl Soho Tussock. And the Posy, the color I chose was Black Cherry, and with the Tussock, the color I chose was, or is it Tussock? Was Ripe Boysenberry. And so I already knew when I chose the yarn, I had an idea of what project I wanted to make, and that was the Avenum Cardigan by Lily Cake France. And she did cover the pronunciation of it because I wasn't sure, and she said that it was named after a park that she frequently went to, and I actually googled images of the park, and it was quite beautiful, stunning. And so I did a swatch, and when I did my swatch, like, I knew that it was quite fluid. It had such a drape to it, and so I knew the garment would be that way also, you know, whereas and that of course has to do with the content, which I do not have the labels with me now, but I know that the content of the yarn has like silk and wool and nylon, and so it has more drape than like a 100% wool, such as my Mary Queen of Scots garment. And so I took that into account, and I knew it would be more of a relaxed fitting slightly garment. Not that it's like loose, but I knew that it would be more like fluid. And so it turned out exactly like that. And then because the garment has this really deep rib on the body, let me stand up. But you have this deep rib on the body, so because of that drape, it gives it a nice kind of blousy effect, I think. And so I think that the yarn with the pattern was just working together in perfect harmony. And so, as you can see, I'm super happy with it. As always, Lily K. Francis patterns are super clear. The clarity was top notch. And so I really just have nothing to share in terms of I followed the pattern exactly as printed, and I don't think I made any modifications. I did go for the size 1 because I knew that, as I was stating, I was taking into account the yarn, and that when I saw with the swatch that it kind of grew, and it grew a bit more, and I knew that the garment would grow more, which it did after blocking. It grew about an inch in width and length. And so I got gauged by, how can I say this? Yeah, I went with the size 1, and I got gauged after blocking it, after blocking the swatch with the size 1. And I went with that size because I knew that I wanted my garment to be, I think it was 17.5 inches in length, and I felt that if I went to a size 2, that it would be too kind of like too much positive ease at the top, and I also thought the length would be kind of longer. Of course, you could just adjust length easily, but I just decided to go to size 1, and I'm super happy that I did, and I think that it was the right move and the right choice. I can't say anything else about it besides I love it. I was going back and forth with my button choice, and I did a poll on my Instagram stories, and it was really close, and I was going back and forth with the gold trimmed button and the black buttons. And the gold trim in the end, I think it won by 3%, but I went with the black in the end because I received quite a few messages talking about how the black buttons would be more versatile, and I could wear it with jeans and more casual things, and I was like, oh, that is true, that is true. And so I went with the black in the end, and I'm super happy with them, and I'm glad that I went with that choice because, as you can see, today I'm wearing them with my gingham pants that I recently made, and that's a bit more casual than the dress that I wore with the first day. Okay, I think that's it for the Avalon cardigan by Lily K. France. And again, this is another project that I'm super happy with, and I just want to say I love the floatiness and delicate sleeves, and the I-core edging is so neat. It's so neat. It's so beautiful. Okay. Let me move on because I have a few more things to share with you. Recently I was contacted by, let me get the kit. Yes, recently I was contacted by Stitch and Story, and they were telling me that they were planning to launch a collaboration with Pusheen, and I was like, Pusheen is so adorable. And if you don't know who Pusheen is, it's a type of comic, or I call it an internet cat cartoon that you can use, you know, and attach to like messages on Facebook and things like that. And so also they have merchandise. I had a friend in my master's program who's crazy about Pusheen, and when we went studying abroad, she carted Pusheen along and took pictures of her at the various sites. Well, they said that they wanted to send me a kit, and of course I was like, oh yes, I would love to receive a kit. And they said that it would be a surprise, so I didn't know what I was getting. I knew that they were going to have knit kits and also crochet kits, and that it was going to have Pusheen. I thought that it was going to all be Pusheen, but I received a kit for Sloth, which is Pusheen's best friend. And I think you saw a peek of Sloth when I stood up. So, how cute is Sloth? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, he's so cuddly, so squeezable, so squishy. And so also with this collaboration, Stitch and Story is launching their Roly Poly plush yarn, and I think that it is perfect for the plushes. And this was actually my first knitted toy. I like making toys a lot. I don't always keep them, but I like making them. And I've made a lot of crochet toys, but I've never made a knit toy. And this is also the largest toy, it's quite large, that I've ever made, because I'm usually making amigurumi, and that's the largest that I think I've ever gone. And so yeah, it was fun to make. It was definitely very easy. The only thing is that this plush yarn is really hard to read your knitting, because I don't always like keep track of my rows, because you know, like with the clicker, because I was like, oh, I always think, oh, I'll go back and I'll count the rows, because especially if I'm watching a TV show or something. But when I tried to go back and count my rows to figure out where I was, this section I was in the pattern, I was having a really difficult time figuring out the rows, because the yarn was so plush, and so the stitch definition wasn't like very pronounced, and so I was having a hard time with that. So you might want to definitely use a row counter when you're working this up. Also, is I had to rip back, even though I didn't have to. I thought I made a mistake, but I didn't. And when I tried to rip back the yarn, it wasn't as easy as I would have liked, but it worked out in the end, and I was still able to correct the issue, and I just think it's perfect. So the kit comes with needles, it comes with the stuffing, it comes with a tapestry needle, it comes with the yarn, so everything you need. And to make Sloth, the Sloth, that's what he's known, that's his name, and he's known for being thoughtful, quiet, and lazing about with his best friend Pusheen. So I'm super happy with it. I've just been having him hang around on the sofa with me, and he's quite comforting and squeezable, and I'm really happy with it. And I enjoy making it up so much that I'm planning to make the sitting Pusheen, because I mean, that's his bestie, so why not have the pair? And so I'm looking forward to sharing that with you sometime in the future. So that is it with Sloth, the Sloth, that's what he's known for. And I'm so grateful that Stitch and Story reached out to me and thought of me with this launch of their new collection, which is very exciting. Okay, I actually did a little sewing. I've been wanting to do a bit of sewing more and more the past few weeks, but it's been hard to squeeze in the time. And you know, it's always easier to make time for knitting, because you just pick up your yarn and your needles and you can just get started. But of course with sewing, it takes prep, you know, you have to lay out the fabric, cut, you know, do all of that. And so I haven't really had time to do as much sewing as I wanted to. But I finally made time, and I was able to complete 2 garments last night. And so the first garment you already saw, I'm wearing it today, and that is Butterick 5895, and they're a pair of high-waist cigarette pants. And I've previously made a black pair and a royal blue pair of this pattern before, that I wear all the time because I don't own many trousers. And so I purchased this gingham fabric to make another pair about 2 years ago, and it's a stretch twill from Joann's, but it took a while for me to actually get to it. And one of the things that I think I kept putting off was because I was like, oh, I don't feel like matching those stripes with the gingham. But I was like, okay, maybe I'm overthinking it, and I just got into it and did it, and in the end it matched up really nicely. See, I think the match of the print and even in the waistband was really nice. And so I was happy with how that turned out, even though I actually didn't try really hard to match it. You know, kind of tried, but I didn't try really hard. And so the match turned out super nice. And this fabric, as I've stated, is from Joann's, and it's a stretch twill fabric, and I'm super happy with it. So because I was so happy with how it was turning out, once I finished the pair, because I kind of finished it earlier in the evening, I decided to make another pair in stretch denim, because no, they aren't like proper jeans, but they look like jeans kind of. And it has the pockets on the front So I purchased this stretch denim from Joann's also. And as you can see, I went for a contrast thread for the top stitching to try to give it that traditional feel that jeans have with that contrasting thread. Oh, let me show you the back also. Yes, it features darts in the back, and the front doesn't feature darts. They have the pockets. And I finished everything with my serger. When I first made the first 2 pairs of this pattern in the past, for some reason I did not finish the seam like here in the center. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I did do it for this version. So yes, I received a few questions about the type of serger I use. I use a Brother 1034D, and I simply use that serger because I didn't know, and I still don't know much about sergers, so I put out like a call on Instagram for recommendations, and this was about 3 years ago, or maybe 2, I don't know, but a lot of sewers recommended the Brother 1034D. They said it was reliable and that it wasn't like too hard or complicated to understand. And so I went with it, and I've been really happy with that ever since. And yeah, so I'm super happy with it. The only thing that I didn't do was, you know how the pattern tells you to slip stitch the waistband and then you're supposed to top stitch and edge stitch. I just skipped the slip stitch section and went straight into top stitching and doing the edge stitch for the waistband, and that is it. But I'm so happy with the pants. I know that I've been trying more and more to get more staple wardrobe pieces. I'm talking solid colors and things that would pair well with a lot of items, and so that's why I'm super happy that I have this denim pair of pants. And I also think gingham kind of matches almost anything color wise, and so I think that that will be, the gingham pants will be a versatile piece to add to my wardrobe also. So that is it for the finished projects, and I have those finished pictures and twirls at the end of the podcast. And so I'm going to take a brief break and we'll get into the works in progress. Okay, so let's get into the works in progress. Currently I have one knitted garment on the needles, and that is the Hanker Sweater by Kim Hargraves. And this is from Kim's Covet collection. And let me get an image. And it's a cropped boxy sweater that features a very simple cable on each side, and the cables are on the front and the back. So that's the garment, and it's a really relaxing project. And I finished most of the back. I'm now at the section where I need to shape the shoulders, and then I'll need to shape the neck. And I'm using the Knit Picks City Tweed, which is my first time using this yarn, and it was gifted to me by Knit Picks, and I'm really enjoying it so far, and I think that it's going to be quite lovely. And as you can see, I usually cable without a cable needle, but that cable is large and it's huge, and so I couldn't do it. It's like, because the stitches were just too hard to do without the cable needle, so I'm actually using a cable needle for this project. And so I'm looking forward to working more on this, because I haven't been working on it as much, because I've been working on the Mary Queen of Scots and then the Avalon cardigan, and then I've been sewing, and so it's kind of been put on the back burner a bit. So I'm excited about picking it back up. I also have another knitted project, and it's not a garment, but it's a shawl. Now recently I became a brand ambassador for Fancy Tiger Crafts, and I agreed to be a brand ambassador with the company because I checked them out and I saw what they were offering and what they were about, and it was perfectly in line with what I love to do and what I love to create, and so I thought that it would be great. And so for my first project with Fancy Tiger Crafts, this, I chose to go with the Florence shawl by Emily Platzer. And I just thought it was beautiful, and I realized that I'm really attracted to shawls that have like stripes with a contrast stitch pattern. And so because when I chose it, I was like, wow, that kind of is not similar, but you know, the shawl that I made by Georgia Farrell, it featured stripes with a contrast stitch pattern. And I was like, well, maybe that's a thing with me. And so I wanted to try out their heirloom Romney yarn because it looked like the type of yarn that is my favorite, 100% wool yarn, and it looked like authentic wool. And I was, it just looked really lush and nice when I saw it on the website, and I was like, oh, I want to try that. And of course I chose shades of green. So this is the Fancy Tiger Crafts heirloom Romney, and my colors are agave and spruce. I think that's the colors. Those are the colors that I chose, and I made a little progress, but I still have a ways to go. The thing with projects that features a lot of yarn overs is that you have to pay attention a bit, and so before I got into the rhythm of the pattern, I had to rip back about twice because I was missing quite a few yarn overs in some rows, and so I didn't want to mess it up. And so I ripped back and I corrected that, but I feel pretty confident with the rhythm of the pattern now, and also just the stitch pattern. So I haven't really encountered any more hiccups with that, and I'm enjoying the project so much. And of course, I chose the shades of green because they're my favorite colors, but I also thought it would go match with a lot of things in my wardrobe and a lot of my green dresses. And so I was thinking about that when I chose this project and also this yarn. And I'm super happy with this. Such a beautiful yarn. Oh, look at that green. It's so gorgeous. So gorgeous. I just love green. So I'm enjoying that project, and so I worked on it. I haven't worked on it as much because, again, I've been doing other things. I'm in school and also working, and so I haven't been able to craft like as much, and I mainly have been able to do it a little bit some evenings, but not much. And also like the sewing, I didn't really knit this weekend because I wanted to focus on sewing, and so that's what I did this weekend. Okay, so that's the Florence shawl by Emily Platzer. I don't think that I stated that the designer was Emily Platzer, and that project is sponsored by Fancy Tiger Crafts, and they're located in Denver, Colorado. So if you have a chance to check out their website, they have some pretty amazing stuff and great sewing patterns, punch needle, crochet, all of the things that I love. Well, I'm not into punch needle yet, but I really want to try it someday soon. Okay, and I have 2 sewing projects that are kind of works in progresses, and I want to make 2 more new look 6469s and solid colors. So I cut out all of the fabric and I marked them up, and so this is Fabric Merchants Ponte, and I always purchase it from fabric.com. So I have this kind of teal color, I think that's the actual name of it, and then I have this chocolate color here. And I just think that those 2 colors were, I wanted to go for a fun color, and then I wanted to go for a more neutral color. But either way, I think that I'm going to get a lot of wear out of them because the green version of my new look 6469 I wear all the time. And I also made a black version and a gold version, but those are long sleeves, so I don't wear them as much as I do the green version. And so I really wanted to just go ahead and knock this out. And this would be my I'll have made this pattern 5 times after I complete these, because I also made a royal blue version for my niece. And when she heard that I was making 2 more for myself, she was like, I really want a red version. Oh, can you please make me a red version? So you might be seeing this pattern again. So that's it for the works in progress. I I'm really happy with them, and I'm actually more inspired to complete the hanker sweater and also the Florence shawl because I want to be ready when the temperatures drop. And I feel like it's already starting to get a bit cooler at night and even early in the morning because I'm starting to wear cardigans when I take Sarabi out early in the morning. And so that's kind of like the first indication that it's not as hot. Oh, it's still hot, but it's not as hot. So I want those projects to be ready for when the temperatures do drop. And I also want to share what I'm wearing, which is, I've already discussed the projects, which is the Avon cardigan by Lily K. France, and I paired it with my Butterick 5859 gingham pants that I just completed, and I really like how they look together. And I guess it will be a kind of short podcast, but also I have time for a bit of chatter. I want to start knitting Christmas gifts pretty soon, and I was just curious about, when do you all start? I have a goal to start in October because two of my nieces want the blank sweater. That's a design by Kim Hargraves from her Form collection. I don't have the book here in front of me, and it's very similar to the hanker sweater. It has the high neck, but instead that version is longer. It's not a cropped version, and it doesn't feature a cable. And also my youngest niece, she washed her Anyday sweater last year, and so she still really wants a replacement, and so I'm going to get started on that also. But I don't know if that's really considered a Christmas gift or more so a replacement for the garment that she ruined. So I need to get started on those because I think that the blank sweaters, they'll be really good projects for it won't take a lot of head space because it's mainly stockinette, but and I think it'll be great also with something to wind down at the end of the night and also on the weekends. And so I'm thinking that I want to get started on those pretty soon. And so I don't know if October is considered too early, but I think that I'll be starting those in October, and I look forward to sharing them with you all. That is it, I think, for today. I just wanted to come in and also update you on what I've been doing because I realized that time was passing so swiftly by, and I realized the month of August was almost out and that I didn't share any that I didn't do a podcast. And I wanted to come in and do some shorter videos. For example, I'm planning to do a video on swatches. I wanted to share with you my different swatches and the process that I go through with swatching and get engaged for projects, and just the process of that. And so I'm still planning to do that shorter video. And I also wanted to update you on I did try out the Knit Picks Coco Bolo needles, and I wanted to update you on not only those needles but also my favorite needles, period. And so hopefully I'll be able to squeeze in those shorter videos. We'll see. Things are quite hectic and it's hard to squeeze it in, but I'm sure that I could get it done. So that's it for today. Thank you for taking a moment and hearing all about my sewing and knitting and crochet adventures, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.